This is Character Asked It. You already know Character did it. I'm here with Bestawdon. Bro, tell us about yourself.
Well, I'm Bestawdon. I make music. I started off, I just did some rap, made some hip hop type stuff when I was younger. And I made about 100 songs in the course of a year. And I was like, well, that was fun. And then I got sold a guitar and things kind of changed up a little bit. And I was still making hip hop at first, then I started making like guitar beats, making more like alternate hip hop. And then next thing you know, I dropped some instrumental projects and I found those like super fun. And I just realized like, wow, music, like I don't even care what genre it is. I just love making music and I want to do everything like that. I got involved in like so much more aspects of the music industry than I ever knew were like even existed to start. And now I'm here, I don't
Oh
know.
yeah. Oh
What's
yeah.
up?
Where are
I'm
you from?
Basad. I'm from Canada in this weird city called Saskatoon that nobody's ever heard of.
Saskatoon.
And
I want to say that
yeah,
over and over again.
yeah, and it's in the province of Saskatchewan, if anybody knows what that
So many
is,
fun words, man.
Yeah, but it's smack that down in the middle of Canada, like probably one of the farthest places like in all of North America, like from an ocean. So just in the middle of nowhere, it's flat, a bunch of grass, lots of trees. That's really it. But
That's so funny. How old are you?
I'm 23 right now, and same as the year, all the time I was born, December 30th, 1999. So there's 2 days a year where my age is different from the actual year. So if I ever forget, I can just remember
That's
what year
crazy,
it is.
man. That's
Yeah,
if I ever. Not gonna
yeah.
lie though, I'm 35, bro. I forget that I turned 35 all the time, man. Uh,
That's
how long have you been making music?
it's that's a complicated. When I was in like high school, like just got into high school. No, even before that, when I was in elementary school, I had some like weird remix apps on my phone. And I would just get some songs, I'd splice it up, I would do that. And I think my first one was like 2013, but I was just having fun because I was bored, right? I wasn't actually trying to make music. I was just doing it as like a little pastime, just having fun. Getting to high school, I get this app called like DJing where I start like messing around doing like weird stuff. Like I would get like I remember I had Rap God, right, by Eminem, and I had Kyoto by Skrillex, if you know that song.
Hell
And
yeah, bro.
yeah, and I made like the build up to the drop from Kyoto, like Eminem doing the fast part of Rap God, until next thing you know, boom, it just turns into a dubstep drop. And I would just be doing that on like a phone app called DJing, and then I don't know. After that, kind of quit on the remix, started just doing freestyles in the cars with the homies, right? Where we would just like smoke up, just start freestyling in the car, right? Playing some beats, and that was super fun. Did that for a few years, and then eventually people were like, you should start making beats. I'm like, I get FL Studio, start making beats. I make about 13, and then I'm like, okay, this is good enough to rap on. So probably 2 months after actually starting to try making beats on a computer, I'm like, all right, this is good enough, and then started dropping songs. But I don't know.
Hell yeah.
I never released anything on Spotify till I think 2020
What did you
is
do
when I
after
had
you
it.
graduated high school?
After high school, I was just working and doing more university after that. So I went and I tried to take a business degree, and then I was like, nah, I don't really like this. So I kind of quit that and then transferred over to doing like psychology and started taking just stuff like community building. Basically, just lots of stuff. I learned the sociology of mass media, right? Which kind of applies to stuff like this, where you learn there's like connections everywhere, basically, where it's like you can learn from like the way that like news reporters are reporting on the news, and like you can take concepts from that and apply it into music and music promotion, and
Yep.
there's connections everywhere. Learned that in university, and I don't know. I learned it well in university. Not sure if I learned it from the university, but started doing that, and now I'm basically just like living here, making just basically living off of music streams.
That's what I want to get to with you.
Yeah.
You you are on like a very unique hustle, unique grind right now where you are supporting yourself with music, but you also are really playing a huge part in helping artists grow.
Yeah,
Tell
so
me
I figured
about
out
that, where you started, how that all happened, and what the hell you're doing, bro.
it started off so like it's pretty basic how the concept began. Like at first, like when I was first trying to get streams, it goes like you show and you send somebody your music and you're like, check this out. And then you hope they check it out. And then if they send something back, they'll be like, all right, I'll listen. Now you check this out. And you kind of go back and forth with an artist where you both like check out each other's music, right? And I'm like, okay, that's cool. That's like the first step. And then I was like, okay, like how do we like I was like, how do you want to get like say somebody wants 1,500 monthly listeners, like to start. That's a nice place. And so it's like, okay, if you can get 50 different artists and each day you just song for song, you listen to their song, they listen to your song, you get 50 listeners a day, end of the month, you got 1,500 monthly listeners. And it's like, okay, so that's nice. But like me, it's like I can't send somebody 50 artists and do this for every person for how they're gonna do that.
Right.
Easiest way. So, but I wanted to figure out a way where I could sort of automate that ideology. So I started doing these things on old Instagram group chats called like the wheel. And it would be like the wheel. So I would have 30 artists in an Instagram group chat, and every day one person would get announced. So it would be like everybody streams this person and they post pictures of them listening to it. And everybody who does that gets added to like a roulette wheel. And every day it would get spun. And so they would do it. So it'd be like, okay, every day there was something you could go back to and stream. And if there was a 1 in 30 chance that you would have 30 people stream your stuff, right? So it just kind of was like, all right, it's fun. People were like gambling a little bit, but like I had to do research to make sure it was like legal gambling. It's like, okay, since they don't have to pay, it's technically not gambling and it's legal. So it's like perfect, you know? Like, yes, there's a prize. Yes, there's the element of chance, but it's free. So, like, all right, it's fine. So I started doing that. At the time, Instagram group chats maxed out at like 32 people. So I made 7 of them, and I was doing 7 wheels a day. It would probably take me 30 minutes to an hour every day. I would be going through, I would look at who sent pictures. I would be like, okay, spin the wheel, go do that, go move on to the next group chat, do that, move on to this. But then I'm like, okay, one Christmas, I'm spending time with my family in like December, and I'm like, you know, like this is what I've been doing, and like it's kind of like insane because like I got 7 groups, and each day somebody's getting 1,000 streams in each of these groups. So technically, I'm giving away like 100,000 streams, or like every like couple weeks, you know.
Right.
I'm like, things have gotten like pretty crazy. And they're like, yeah, that's cool. I'm like, but like, I don't know, that's kind of a lot of like effort, like every day. Cause I did this for over a year with no days off, right?
Yep.
Just spinning wheels.
Yep.
And so eventually I'm like, okay, there's 200 and some people in Instagram group chats. I'm just going to move everything to a Discord server and I'm going to keep running the wheel there, right? And that kind of got crazy. Like first day, like, cause all my Instagram chats joined up and they started doing the wheel. Like it's such a long story, but like I don't know, I love like talking about it, right?
Tell me about it.
Yeah, so everybody goes over there, and I just do 1 wheel instead of 7, right? Which is like a lot easier. But I thought it'd be easier. It's honestly not that much harder because the same amount of people, right? But anyways, it was super fun. Everybody started getting involved there. It'd be like 100 people would be like streaming somebody every day, all like for free. So like it got to the point where like the one person would win, they could get like 11,000 streams in one day, which was just kind of like ridiculous from having everybody streaming on that. So then I just go on TikTok. I'm like, all right, like if you want to do this, like you can get a bunch of streams in like one day. Like there's nothing else like really for independent artists where it's like, okay, you can go get 10,000 streams in a day just by doing this. And so those TikToks started doing really well. But I was still trying to figure out ways where I could like, I don't know, make it even better. Because the whole the whole philosophy behind it was like I wanted it to be like a wormhole straight through like the eye of like the hurricane into like the music industry, right? Or I wanted like if we could have one like I don't know, say we get 10,000 people all streaming the same person for like a 24 hours, and like say everybody streams them like 100 times in like one day. It's like that person gets 1 million streams in one day.
Yep.
And like what that would do to the algorithm would just be like astronomical. So it'd be like you could just literally shoot somebody up to like a level of fame that would like usually take years in like a single day. And so like that's kind of what I wanted, right? And even if you do like 1,000 people stream, because like I was doing so much math, I'm like, all right, so like if there's like a 2-minute song, there's 1,440 minutes in a day. Everybody streams it 720 times in that day, right? And I'm doing all the math. I'm like calculating. I'm like, all right, how can you get the just sheer maximum amount of streams? And I figure that out, and I do that for about a year without missing a single day. I'm like, okay, cool. Like now it's like we've probably given out 10 million streams to like a bunch of random artists for free. And I'm like, all right, well, that's pretty sick. Like, what do we do now? Because there's more stuff that we should be doing with this platform. Because like now there's like 1,700 artists like in the Discord right now, all doing their stuff. But the problem was like, I started realizing like Instagram groups are just more active than Discord groups most of the time. So it's like 100 people in an Instagram group, if they're active, it's going to be better than like 1,000 people in a Discord group, just because people just open Instagram, the access is there. I don't know. People love it. And although Discord, like in my opinion, it's just like a far better, much like better organized, like I love
it. Intimidates people though. It intimidates.
It's so intimidating. So somebody's like, oh, I hear good things about this. They join it and they have like no idea what's going on with all these channels and stuff. Yeah, it's a lot for like lots of people. So lots of people get turned away from that.
Yeah.
But Instagram groups, it's like, okay, same thing, just I don't know. Now I'm like, I care so much more about networking now than I ever used to care. Whereas like that's like there's so much value in that. Like streams are nice because that's what's like actually gonna like get you money. But like the connections are what's gonna get you like to enjoy your life and like get to somewhere where you're happy, right? And that's all networking, just meeting people, making better music. And that's also like the other thing. It's like making better music. Like networking is going to help with that because, you're always learning people.
Facts, bro.
Yeah. But it's all subjective. Like I made music alone, like in a box for a year. And like, I thought it was amazing at the time. Looking back on that stuff from like 2019 now, I'm like,
not so much. Not so much. Nah, I feel you, bro, but it's all part of the journey, man. It's all part of the journey.
All part of the journey. But then, so I started making these like stream lists, right? Well, like first I just started making regular playlists, right? Because I had so many people. I was like, I just want to like organize everybody, right? Like I'm like, okay, so here's going to be a playlist of like all of the rock, here's one of all the metal, here's one of all the R&B, here's one of all the rap, here's one of all the electro people, here's one of all the instrumental people, here's one of just like a collective thing. And like you'd have to submit to it, so it's like only people that were participating were the ones getting on the lists. And I was like, okay. So I got this whole catalog of like artists, and I was even doing stuff where it was like regional based locations once we had this many things. Because I had a channel in the Discord where it was just drop your location, like drop your city name. And you can look up with, like, if you know how to use Discord, it's a phenomenal tool because you could join in. You'd be like, all right, like New York, who's in New York? You could just search who's mentioned New York in that channel. You would see a list of 10 artists in that city that you could just go and network with. And it got crazy to the point where it's like, okay, now like if I ever go to LA, I just type in LA, boom, I find 30 artists in LA, and I can just hit them all up when I go there. Like I could just move around. Like same thing with like Canada. I could go to like Toronto, find a bunch of artists around. It's like so many cities. There's like hotspots of musicians, and so that's like another thing. So many people started networking, and they're actually like they started their own collectives just based because they met in this collective, right? Like
that's amazing.
They got me in like some dudes like I barely know. They got a Genius article, right? And because they like had a song, it blew up, and they got a Genius article about how they collaborated together. Like, yeah, so we just met in this dude named Bestawdon's Discord,
That's
and like
awesome, bro.
we just went on and go made this. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, I'm just mentioned there casually, right? And I'm like, it's Genius, so that's pretty cool. But like, there's so much to do. But the Streamless is where like everybody started making money, where it's like, and then it's like, I learned about the difference because it all happened after this lawsuit, right? Where it's like streaming platforms all got sued because they're not paying artists enough money. So they had to start paying people more money. It's like Apple Music was paying like $4 per 1,000 streams, like, and Spotify was paying like $2.50.
Yeah.
They upped it, so now Spotify pays like $4 per 1,000, and Apple Music pays $10 per 1,000. And if you can get 1,000 streams on Apple Music, you make $10, right? So it's like, okay, cool. So like, how can we like take advantage of this, right? So it's like you get 100 people like onto a playlist. So like, I'd say like on average, like somebody like if you're a musician and you just like your own music, you could probably stream it like 6 times in a day, right? And like that's not too sketchy. But if you go overboard and you try to stream yourself like the entire day, that's gonna get flagged, just like bots or whatever. But like you're allowed to listen to your own music. Just you can't go overboard with it or you're not gonna get paid. So I made playlists of where you'd say you get 100 different artists onto a playlist, and everybody streams the playlist like the whole day. And the playlist ends up being 4 hours long. So say like everybody's streaming for 8 hours, you're only going to stream yourself 2 times, right? And in a whole day, but you're streaming all the 100 artists 2 times in that day. And you got 100 artists streaming you 2 times that day. So that's 200 streams per day just from doing that, right? But it all depends on the song lengths and stuff. So it's like you won't get paid for a song that's below 30 seconds. And if you have a 30-minute song, you're probably not going to make much money off of that either. So if you can find something in the middle, like 1,440 minutes in a day, if you drop a 1-minute song, and you can get it by working with other people to the same ratio as of, say you were streaming yourself for 24 hours a day, but without doing that, because you get other people to stream you collectively 24 hours a day, all broken up to the point where each of them streams you for not much time at all. You figure that out, so it's like, okay, now you're making $14 per day just off of having a minute-long song on Apple Music. And anybody can go do this, and it's like, okay, that's like $500 a month just from having your song put onto a playlist, which is like ridiculous. So it's like musicians could take advantage of this, of course. Non-musicians could take advantage of this and use it like a literal money farm, where it's like it's completely broken. You could buy 6 Apple Music accounts for $15 a month. If you use each of these accounts, ties it up to a different group doing a different playlist, and you have a song that's 1 minute long, you'd make 14 times $6 per day, which is, say you get 28, 56, say you're making 70 some bucks per day, right? Maybe 80 even, right? So you get $80 a day just from a $15 a month payment, right? So it's like you can pay $15 a month and make $80 a day just from doing this. And you don't even need to be a musician. You need to upload an MP3 file to platforms. That's it. So like you could literally, it can be anything. Anybody could make money doing that. You could be like, all right, the sound of the fan in my room, relaxing sleep noise, just 1 minute clip, and you could make money off that. You could live off of that. And like if I would have found that out when I was like 15 or 16, like I would be like rich by now, right? Like I'm not, but like the fact that like you could be literally any age and you could be doing that and you could have that much money, like it just blows my mind that like now I got random people that'll work with me that are like some 15-year-old upcoming artist that signs up on like a playlist, And like they come in and like, oh, if I'm getting like 20 SoundCloud views, it's like, okay, now you're making like $400 or $500 a month, and you're like 15. Like, what are you gonna do with that? Like, you need to like buy like a better computer, make more music. That's like, I don't know, 2 months, right? You get enough money. You need some speakers, you need instruments, like another 2 months, right? That money is there. It's like, okay, now you have all of the equipment to make like music, so you can like chase your dreams when you're like not even 16 years old yet. Now, like, you're also making a steady income off your music. You can spend that on ads. It's all about reinvesting into yourself, right? Because that's the way that ads grow, is like you pay to reach the first people, and then but then you can still grow after the ads from those people sharing it to their friends, and that's free. But you buy the first people, and it seems like, oh well, I don't want to just like pay for like
Oh, it's pay
directly
for
for
play.
this.
It's pay to play in this industry. I don't care what you
Exactly.
say is pay to play. That's what it takes.
Exactly. That's how it starts. And you get everybody pay to play. Say you pay like 100,000 people to like check it out, and then like, I don't know, 5% of them like it. Now you got 5,000 people that are sharing your stuff. And it's like you can reach another 100,000 like pretty quickly after that. So
Facts, bro.
yeah,
That's
that's
crazy.
kind of how
That's a
it's grow.
crazy hustle you're on. And I really did not plan on bringing this up in this interview because this is what we're going to be meeting on Saturday about. But this is everything you're saying. I need to tell you about this.
Yeah, go for it.
I linked with some guys in Denmark, 3 really great guys. They are and have been building an app for 3 years. They've had a team of 10 guys working on coding it for the last year and a half. It's a music streaming app.
Okay.
It's called Muse IQ. It is not a pay per stream app.
Okay.
So the structure on this app, it's always free for artists. Always. Nothing will ever cost a dime for artists on this app. You upload your shit like SoundCloud. It's separate from DistroKid, but you upload it. But then the listeners, they get a 30-day trial, and then after that, they have 3 membership options. One's $5, one's $10, one's $30. None of those give you any extra benefits or anything like that, except for the $5 subscription gets you 1 validation. What a validation is equals $1 to give to an artist. So you go to an artist profile and you press validate, and that means $1 out of your payment every single month is going to go directly to that artist.
Okay.
The $10 payment gets you, the $10 subscription gets you 5 validations. The $30 subscription gets you 20 validations. So you can give, 20 different people $1, or it's one artist $20.
Yeah.
There's
That's
also
awesome.
commenting and things like that where you can communicate with the artist. I really believe that if we as independent artists push this to our listeners, the people that actually listen to it, and if an artist convinces 1,000 people to download this app and listen to this app every once in a while for $5, much less the $14 you're paying for Spotify,
Yeah.
and they know that part of the payment that they're making goes directly to a person they can communicate with. If you get 1,000 people there, that's $1,000 a month in your pocket.
Yeah. That's ridiculous.
What are your thoughts on that?
I think it's a totally new approach. Like every platform has something new that's going to come and like completely revolutionize the way that the industry works. So like all these streaming platforms have been doing it the same way for a long time. It's like, what's really going to overpower it? Because I knew TikTok, like they were going to try to make their own streaming platform. And I'm like, well, like unless they do something like completely different, like I don't think they're going to be able to compete with any of these big platforms like Spotify or Apple Music, because you got to do something completely different. And this is something completely different. So if the people if it can get enough exposure and have people actually start using it, I think it could be a wonderful tool for artists.
I do too, and there's a whole plan that I'll get into later. But I'm very excited about this idea, and we'll talk more about it in that meeting. But it is, I really believe in this app, and if we do it right, it could change independent artists' lives forever, for real.
Yeah, like is because if you have 1,000 like average and it's so you definitely can't take advantage of it in the same way, right? Like you can't
No,
completely
exactly, and that's why I wanted to
capitalize
talk to
it.
you about it.
Hmm.
Talked about it with you because like you found a way to capitalize on the pay per stream structure.
Yeah.
So what do you? And it may take some digesting kind of thing for you, but what do you see a plan for to do something similar with what you're doing in this with this?
I think this is just like a far fairer platform, the new idea. It's like you don't have to go crazy and like do stuff that has nothing to do with like music to like run. It's like if you're just get fans, if the fans like you only need 1,000 fans that like you, and boom, you're making $1,000 a month, like you said, right? Like that's crazy. It's like you get 1,000 fans that like you, say they listen to you, I don't know, 10 times a month, right? They just play your music on like Spotify. That's like 25 to $40. You get the same amount of people on this app that get their membership as 1,000, right? So it's a lot more level playing field, I think, for
That's
artists.
what everybody that I've talked to has been saying,
Hmm.
and they've also been saying that this is an actual way to gauge what's working because it's so easy to bot Spotify's and to
Yeah,
really you don't understand what's actually catching what's working so it's
yeah.
and they're also once they have had some time they're going to have like their own kind of charts where
Hmm.
each month they will release the most validated artists and things like that, and they'll send plaques out and things like that.
Hmm.
So
I think that's way better because like there was the whole Atlantic record things with Lil Uzi Vert that happened not too long ago where he posts a video and like first minute there's already like 10,000 comments from like some location that like never streamed it 10,000 times, all from the same location, right? And you're like, okay, this is bot. So like, there's the people that are like at the top of the game right now, like using all this botting stuff to
yes,
inflate their numbers in the beginning, like, and then it's like, oh well, I'm at the top. It's like, are you though? Like you are. Like that's how it works. But like you're not. So it's like you can't do that, and the fact that you can't do that is wonderful.
exactly. That's the whole point. That's the whole point.
Yes.
All right, back to you, bro. What are your biggest accomplishments?
Like peace and love, like as a person, I had to just like find like happiness and being a peaceful and loving person, I mean that's nice, right? Like
That's beautiful. What are you talking about?
I love that, like just being calm. Because when I was young, I was like super egotistical and all this stuff, and I had to just like completely just like who I was to who I am now. It's like it's not the same, right? I'm a different person.
Yeah.
Like I kind of yeah. So like my like probably one of my other biggest accomplishments is just like being alive right now. Like I love being alive right now. Like the fact that I made it this far, I'm just like wow. It's like there's all this other stuff where it's like lately like I couldn't even like appreciate it when it happened, right? Because I hit 1 million streams like a month ago, which like usually I'd be like, okay, like nice little parties or whatever. But like I was like literally in the hospital, like dying, and I hit 1 million streams. I'm like, okay. So like my buddy like took me out so I could get like a small bowl of soup and then and then go back to the hospital for 1 million
Why were
streams. I'm
you
like,
in the
okay,
hospital?
I thought this would have been like big parties, parties and stuff, but no, I was just like, I couldn't even appreciate that much. So like, I thought that would be one of my biggest accomplishments, but like, I'm more proud of like what I've been able to accomplish as a person, and just the things that I've like learned are a lot more validating than this number that you can get on a streaming platform, in my opinion. And it's just personal growth. That's really
Oh
where
yeah, bro.
is my biggest accomplishment, 100%.
Do you want to talk about why you were in the hospital?
It's I don't know the reason I was in the hospital, but I have some like ideas, right? Where it's like I went, like the doctors told me this might have been the reason, but they're not confident it was the reason. But I went a month eating nothing but like roast beef. So all of a sudden I was like, I would only eat roast beef. I'd have about like, nothing. So I didn't have any veggies. I didn't have any, like, I had no carbs, right, for a month. And that was crazy. I was down, I think, 20 some pounds at the end of the month, even though I was trying to just try it out, right? I got like so much like I don't even know, like weaker at the end of it, but I was fine, right? So I go a couple months and I'm fine. I go back to eating regular food. Nothing bad had happened. I'm like, oh well, this was cool. But my health had was slowly declining afterwards, and to the point where it was like 2 months later, I was like, I could after like 5 p.m. like I couldn't eat food. Like I would just get super sick and I would just have to go to bed. And then like it got to the point where like that time like had been like coming closer to when I would wake up. So like every night it would be like there was this wall where it's like as soon as it turns this time, I get super sick. I like can't eat anything and I just need to like go to bed immediately. And then it got to the point where that was like I would wake up and I wouldn't be able to eat anything because it had just gotten to that point. So I'd be like, okay, I couldn't do anything. I couldn't even drink water, right? Like it would be like painful for me to drink a mouthful or whatever. And I think what they said happened, stomach acid goes into like my esophagus or something. And like I got like esophagitis from that, which is like, I don't know, it's like, tonsillitis,
Okay.
where it's like
Okay.
your
Yeah.
tonsils
Okay.
get inflamed.
Okay.
It's that, but like your entire esophagus is like
Damn,
inflamed.
bro.
And so I couldn't like eat anything because of that, and it was just too painful. They like gave me a bunch of like opioids and stuff, and they were like, "Okay, you're not allowed to like eat food for like 2 weeks." And
That's
I'm like,
crazy.
"Okay." So I went like in total, like it was probably a month when I got sick, and I went like an extra week after of not eating food. So I went like a month without eating any
Like
food.
a liquid diet?
Yeah, liquid diet. So I would literally just be like drinking like Ensures and like Gatorade Zeros, like, but like it was still so hard to drink. Like I had to work myself up to drinking things. Like now I'm at the point where it's like I feel good, but like if I drink like an energy drink, like a couple hours on the line, I'm like, oh, why did I do that? Like,
Oh,
and I used to be drinking like 4 energy drinks a day, right? Like
yeah.
it's totally different, when this stuff happens. But that's kind of why I was in the hospital. I just couldn't eat food.
Yeah.
The doctors were like, if you didn't come here for like an extra 2 days, you'd be dead. So I'm like, okay.
Wow, bro. Wow.
And because it had gotten to the point, I think like I wasn't even doing like a liquid diet. It was 4 days where I didn't have any food and I didn't have any liquids. And after that much time, like it's like the fifth day starts, and I'm like, okay, like I can't drive to the hospital.
That's like an acid trip, bro. That
Oh, I could talk about those for another hour, but
No, bro, that's not what this interview's about.
but yeah, so it was crazy. I was that many days. I called the ambulance. They took me there, and then I was just bed rest for like a couple weeks. Yeah,
That's crazy, man. My next question
yeah.
is typically, what are your biggest obstacles? But I feel like you just told me that.
My biggest obstacle was just probably just staying in good physical health, like at this point, right? It's been changing. Like I've had like the battles with like mental health in the past that I pretty much just like, okay, I'm not too stressed about that now. I am like happy with where I am.
Yeah.
And now it's just physical health that's like really draining on me. Where it's like if I wake up and I'm like in pain, I'm like, nah, whatever. But that's kind of my biggest obstacle. Yeah.
All right.
And just gatekeepers in the music industry. They're a big obstacle. I don't like gatekeepers.
I feel that,
No.
bro. I feel that. I feel that. And that's another conversation we could have, but then we would have to drop names, and I'm not trying to do that. So,
Yeah. Oh, it
tell
was
me.
crazy. Like I got into like it's crazy just the fighting that happens in the music industry. Like there was this guy, like literally, I don't know if it was yesterday or the day before. He sends me like 5 voice messages and then just yelling at me, and I'm like, okay, well, like I reciprocate. I'm like I send him messages like yelling back at him in voice messages. We just beefing and like DMs. We're just like just roasting each other. I'm like, okay, that's enough of that.
That's the internet drama, bro. That's the internet
I'm
drama.
I'm not opposed to
High
it
school
though
never
because
ends,
like
man. High school never ends, bro. It
seems
doesn't.
like it. But I posted a TikTok one time. This dude just started roasting me on Instagram DMs. I just like posted the full thing on TikTok and it just blew up. So I'm like, like random people, they just eat that type of stuff up. They eat that whole kind of drama, like, oh, what's happening here? What's
For
this sort of
sure.
music drama? But I don't really care about it. But like, if the people like it, I'm not opposed
No, hey
to
man,
it.
that's a good
So
point though. Like that, you always, as an artist, you always have to have something to set yourself apart from the other artists. You cannot just be posting your music and expect to blow up off of you
100%.
posting your music. I'm sorry, there are too many songs released and published and posted every damn day for anyone to want to sit there and listen to this song as, oh, well, that's the song that's going to make me want to follow you and follow in your Spotify, and it's never going to happen. You got to make them connect with you.
Exactly. I used to run this series on TikTok where it was rating artists' music promo videos. So it wasn't just like you see everybody as you rate their music.
Can
I
I
was
join that,
rating,
bro? I would fucking
yeah,
love to do that,
yeah. We can do an episode sometime, but it would be like this artist. It's like, oh, new song out now. Go listen, and you're just like,
bro.
this is a
Why?
2. I
Why
love
would I
it's
listen to
good
this song,
music.
bro? Like,
But like I'm so harsh with it. I was like, I never found a 10. It
oh,
was like it's like this isn't like the way to do it. I'd be like, you get a 2, you
bro.
get a 3. I'm sorry to tell
We
you,
gotta
but
do this.
like
We gotta do this. I'll be the Simon Cowell of music promo reviews, bro.
that's what I try to do because people are asking like, please do me. I'm like, okay,
Oh
you
God.
asked
All
for
right, bro. That's fine.
it.
Like,
Yeah, that was a super fun series to do for a while.
that I bet, man. We should. I'm dead ass. We don't need to talk about too much right now, but let's do that. What does
I'm in
success in life look like to you?
happiness.
What is happiness?
Well, that's where it gets complicated. Like, I would be happy to leave. Like, the happier I'll be, the more impact I have left on the world. But that's just me personally. So
Ooh, I like the way you said that, bro. The happier
uh,
I'll be, the more impact I'll leave on the world. You don't know what
yeah,
impact it's gonna be, but you know you gotta be happy to do it. That
don't
is
know, right?
beautifully said, man. That's man, props.
Okay, I don't know, but I think that's so much of it. Like, I believe in sort of non-physical transmission of energy to an extent, where it's like if you walk into a party with 50 people and everybody's sitting there having a good time, but one guy's just in his head talking about how he like hates everybody there and he wants to like shoot the place up, like, but he's acting the same as everybody else. This is just what he's thinking. You can pick out on that, right? You can see this guy and you're like, something's off,
Something's
right?
wrong there.
You'll know it, and because that's just like
It's true.
thoughts. I believe that they can sort of transmit like that. So the more positive energy you bring, and the more like just I don't know, happiness and joy, it's great. So more
That's
impact.
beautiful, bro. That's beautiful. I have a few non-related questions to your story. If you could see any change in society right now, what would it be?
Oh, I don't know. So I gotta be careful with how I answer it to an extent. I don't know.
Don't want to get canceled yet.
Oh, change in society. Like I was thinking about this earlier, right? Where just the inequality, not like within individual societies, but across individual societies, right? Like I was talking with this dude named Louis from Nigeria a couple days
I
ago,
know who you're talking
and
about. I
Louis,
know exactly who
and
you're talking about.
yeah, I was talking with him, and I was talking about like he was talking about wanting to get DistroKid, and I was like, well, it's like $10, and he was like, oh, like here it's like I don't know 7,900 like naira, right, which is their currency
Right.
over there, and I'm like in my head in the beginning I was like, well, it's the same amount of money, right?
Yes, exactly.
I'm like $10 versus that, just because it's a bigger number doesn't mean that it's more money.
Yeah.
But then I realized like it really does.
I mean, yeah, because they're not getting paid.
Because it's different. Because then I was like, okay, I did the math and I found out I would be making like 295,000 naira per month if I lived over there
Right.
in Nigeria. And I started looking up the price of goods. Like okay, here if I go to buy like a carton of eggs, it's gonna be like $4.50. If I were to go there for the same carton of eggs, it would be 20 cents, relative in that currency. And I was thinking about this, so it's like, although like $10 translates directly to that much money, for him, I could buy a DistroKid membership for 2 and a bit cartons of eggs.
Right.
Whereas him, if he wants a DistroKid membership, that's 55 cartons of eggs. So if we were to measure the same value in good rather than the currency, it's a totally different ballpark where it's like, it is like 20 times more expensive for him to get that in that society. So I don't know. And it's totally different. And I started talking about how, or he starts telling me about how it's divided into like 3 main groups. And I can't really complain about the society that I live in Canada, although there are things where like, you might not be the happiest. It's like somebody's over there looking like you got it wonderfully, right? And telling you how good that your society is. So
no, facts. It's all about perspective, man. It's all about perspective.
Always. But I just think like more like equality, not on an individual or like on an individual society, like on a whole global standpoint, where it's like everybody should receive like equal opportunity and not just within a society. I mean, like in the world.
Beautifully said, bro. Beautifully said.
That's a tough one.
You killed it. You killed it, man. Is there anything that I didn't think to ask you about your journey, your story that you want to talk about?
I'll talk about anything. I don't know what type of podcast this is, what we're going to be talking about, but
I mean,
so much.
What's the first thing that came to your head when I said that?
I don't know, like psychedelics.
I had a feeling.
Yeah. I do.
They can change your life. They can change your world. They can change your perspective.
They really can, and yeah. I don't know. I did that like a couple times, in the
past. Couple times.
But I'd say that like the impact that they can have on your life, just to make you realize things. Like I used to take things so literally back when I was younger. I was on an acid trip with this guy for my 18th birthday, and he looks at me like middle of the trip, and we had eaten like six or some, but he looks at me and he says, "We are one." And at the time, I'm like, okay, so like we are not like combined into a single entity, you and I. No, like we are different people,
Thus sparks an existential argument.
And that's just what I thought. But then like, it was maybe like a year later, I'm like, we are one. Well, he meant like not us, like everything. I'm like, oh wow, that's amazing. And there's just multiple experiences like that where I'm like, I get it now.
It took a year to set in, but you figured this shit out, bro.
It really has to do with like this sort of open-mindedness when you come to turn down people's ideas. Because I was looking back at like all the times in my life where I've seen like people talk about how we're one before, and like whether it's on their ads or whether they're just talking about that. And it's like just different. It's like when you realize like what they're actually trying to say, it's totally different than what somebody who's never thought about it before might interpret a given thing as. Like, it's totally different. Like, we are one, it's like, oh, we are a collective. It's like, oh, you might think of that as like, oh, this group, and then you might think of it as like humans, and then you might think of it as like, all animals, and you might think of it as like the entire like world and like the entire universe. And it's like it continues to sort of grow the more you expand your mind, just the lens that you can understand even the same concept with, the more that you grow your own open-mindedness.
A lot like that tree of life you got behind you.
Yeah, the tree of life, honestly. I honestly studied sacred geometry for a really long time,
I could, bro. That's big. That.
I could talk about that for a long time, and like, because so the second most sold book ever is called The Elements of Euclid, and nobody really knows what it is because most of it was sold about like thousands of years ago. But it's still like, even though it like nobody knows who it is now, just the sheer amount that was sold, it's the second most sold book in the world. And I got a copy of that here, and it was written maybe 2,500 years ago or something.
What the fuck?
And it was this dude just walking around, and he sort of invented geometry, and he invented math. He invented like what a parallel line was and perpendicular angles and stuff. He invented like everything. He's like, this is a triangle. Like he would provide the definitions for a triangle.
Pythagorean, like.
So Pythagoras like read the Elements of Euclid, and then he came up with the Pythagorean theorem.
Oh,
so
okay, this is the OG. Okay, all right.
Yeah, so like it's the same thing with the calculus. Like the guy who invented calculus read the Elements of Euclid and was like, "Oh, calculus, yeah." So I was just trying to read this because it's like you can learn like some mathematical equation, but you can't understand like the why, right? So I was really trying to understand the why by reading the Elements of Euclid, and it is the hardest book I've ever had to read. I used to be a big reader. I would read books all the time, and then I get to this one book written 2,500 years ago. I get 30 pages in, and I'm like, I need to restart.
I know
you lost me there,
bro. No way.
Yeah. And like every time I read it, I'll start from the beginning, and I'll go like an extra like 1 or 2 pages just because I have a new understanding of it, but it is impossible to read. And for the last year, I've been trying to read this book, but I physically cannot get through it because I only want to read it if I can understand it. And it blows my mind that in the past 2,500 years, like, there's this dude back there that was just inconceivably smarter than me.
What's wrong with our education system? We should at least have the foundation taught to us to be able to understand what he's saying. That's crazy.
That's what I understand. That's how I see it, because they don't teach you the foundations. They teach you the like modern version of like, oh, you can do this if you do this.
This new math, bro. I tried to do math with my daughter, and it's not the same. Math changed, but that's another story. We won't get into that.
But yeah, sacred geometry. There's like you said, the tree of life. Like there's all these different shapes. There's like the flower of life and the seed of life and like the tree of life in that, and then it overarches with there's this thing called Metatron's cube, which is essentially when you go over it and you like, well, it essentially goes back to the difference between masculine and feminine energy, which kind of transmits to It translates into geometry directly, the way that old sacred geometry was written, where it's like a circle or something is going to be more like feminine, whereas a straight line will be something that's more masculine energy. So it's if you can draw circles between all these points and intersections, then it'll come out to something that's like the flower of life. Whereas if you draw lines on top of that, or lines, it makes a different shape. And then when you overlay those two, you get some sort of balance. And then, yeah, I could talk about geometry for a long time, but it's really hard. And that's one of the things that I am like proud of in myself. Well, I'm not even proud of it. One of the things where I am just different is I can visualize things like ridiculously well, where it's like I can just think something and I can clearly see it in my mind. And that's just like my favorite thing to do. Whereas it's like I kind of mapped out like ways where I could guarantee a lucid dream, right? Like an app, and I did it in the format of FL Studio.
All right, you gotta fucking tell me about that.
So like basically, I like created dream landscapes from scratch. And the same way that I would do it. So like if you're familiar with FL Studio, you can see how there's the whole thing, and then there's pattern 1, pattern 2, pattern 3 over there on the left. I would first load up to that screen in my mind as I'm laying in bed, and I would like click on one of the patterns. but each pattern is a different dream landscape that I would have created for me to potentially slip into. So one of those was essentially this house that's just in like a grassy field by a lake, and it's surrounded by forests essentially. But it would started with that concept, and the more I would go there and memorize it, like I would spend like nights where I'm just laying there with my eyes closed in the dream world. But when I get to the dream, instead of trying to do something cool, I'm staring at this log. I'm like, all right, this is here, this is here, this is where the sink is, this is where my bed is, this is what the porch looks like, and I'm like studying my environment in a dream landscape so that next time I go there, it's the exact same. And it won't change. It's just always the same dream landscape.
It's so crazy, bro.
And the more you would immerse yourself into that, like you can just eventually lose sense of your initial reality. Where it's like I could probably do it where it's like, okay, you have the entire reality, and like you can even imagine the sensations of that reality. Where it's like, okay, so now I'm rolling around in the grass in my dream, but on my body I can feel what it would feel like to be rolling around in this glass. And when you break that barrier between I'm imagining this to this is just what's happening, when that barrier dissolves, you're just there and you're free to do whatever you want from that point. And then
you've created alternate universes in your dream world.
Yeah, and like each different pattern's a different alternate universe. And some of them, like, it got complicated when I actually tried to insert people into my my dream worlds. Because getting a whole landscape, that was easy, you know, that's child's play. But if I wanted to get an entire subsection of my subconscious mind and upload it into like a relative NPC in my dream, I could do that. Where it's like, okay, I was like, I can get this part of my personality and put it into this person, whereas this part of my personality gets put into this person, so I can interact with different parts of my subconscious at different times. And you can just get a deeper understanding of yourself. Because I came from the concept that no matter what you're dreaming, who's in your dream, they're all you. And that's kind of like step one of dream analysis. It's like everybody in your dream is you, but you take that and then you capitalize off of it. So it's like, okay, but they're all me, so I can choose who it is, right? So you can make them, you can program them, and that's where things started getting complicated. Where it was like, all right, here's a house for myself, here's a house for this dude that's also in my dream world. There's one for this dude. You try to make like a whole civilization of different elements of your subconscious personified into different people, and I was doing that in my dreams, just in lucid dreams. Like it's like I'm playing a video game trying to build up a civilization, except I'm dreaming. You know, like that is just probably one of my things where I'm just not the same as like a normal person there.
Bro, that's amazing. I don't really even know what to say to that. Like I gotta spend like a whole day digesting everything you just said, and then I can respond.
Yeah,
I think a lot about. Trust me, you just fucked my whole night up. Now I'm just gonna be like thinking about that all night, man. Damn.
It's fun. That's all I can say about it.
Damn.
You know.
Damn.
It's very introspective. That's all I can say. You know, but. Yeah.
I wish I had more to respond. I wish I had more to say to that, but like I said, I got to digest that. That's crazy.
It's a lot. That's kind of how I talk. That's the way amazing, I operate.
That's amazing. And you should be, man. Like you just blew my mind. I've never had my mind blown like that in the 90-some interviews I've done. So you know, please, I welcome my mind being blown.
It's the same thing with like when I'm just talking to artists about like what I'm doing in like the music industry. I'm like, all right, here is like everything that I've done so far. You do this, boom. It's like, all right, here's like just do this. You get $500 a month. So it's like it's too. They're like they have to go digest it. Maybe they'll come back in like a couple days. Like, bro. Like, now I see what you're doing.
I figured out what you were saying. You know, like damn, bro.
It comes like that all the time.
Yourself, man. Like respect to everything. Do you got anything big coming up you want to talk about?
Like that's the thing. When I make music, I'm not that type of guy that has these big plans. Where I mean, I have like big plans.
That's because you just throw them on playlists.
Yeah, so I was talking to my buddy. He used to be called CDP. Now he has a different name, but Anyways, we made a song before, but he was like, all right, so for my next album, I'm going to do this. And then I'm going to switch genres and I'm going to make this new album where I'm going to do this. I'm going to do two of those. And then I'm going to switch the genres and go over to this. I was got it all planned out for the next like 3 years. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. Like, I'm going to sit down at my computer with like a guitar and I'm going to network with different artists. And then if I make something that I like, I'll put it out. And if I don't make something I like, I won't put it out. I don't know. But what I do know is I will be making music. I don't know if it's going to come out or if it's not going to come out. I don't even know if it's what genre it's going to be, but something might come out. So, if people want to stay tapped in, they can. But my last project was like progressive psychedelic experimental metal that transitions into like classical. And then like I think my next song is gonna be just a rap song.
Whatever you're feeling, bro. There's nothing wrong with that. Like there's so many approaches to this industry. There's nothing wrong with any of the individual approaches. Much respect to everybody on the hustle, for real. Stay true to yourself. At the end of the day, if it feels right for you, do it. If you're doing it for someone else, don't fucking do it.
100%. And I've had that like debate with myself in the music industry before, where I've had somebody come at me with 1 million followers and they're like on TikTok, and I can see their like videos where it's like, okay, they make music and stuff. They ask me for a beat. I'm like, okay, like I'll make you a beat. Like you DM me, you see my music, you want something. I'm like, okay. It's like, but make it like a Justin Timberlake type beat. And I'm like,
no,
I had to decide. Beat, I'm like, if you want a Justin Timberlake beat, go find somebody who's gonna do that. Like, I want to just make something that's gonna be me. Like, you see a guy playing the guitar that makes beats, doesn't mean I'm going to make you this specific type of beats. Like, I'm not like a tool, It's like I am like a very specific selection of like very fine tools, that can only create a certain category of things. It's like, I might have like, I don't know, a paintbrush. I'm not going to go fix a carburetor with it. You know what I mean? It's like it's a tool. It's a different type of tool, And so I'd have to tell people like, no, I'm not going to do it, regardless of how much clout and how many streams I'd get if I did this. I just don't feel like it, and you got to just be yourself at the end of the day,
Damn right, bro. Damn right.
But also, same side, take advantage of every opportunity you see. I tell people all the time, so it's like.
But just don't.
Who really knows anything?
Don't deny yourself.
Yeah.
You don't want to go to bed at night with $1 million in your bank, knowing that you did something that you do not respect yourself for doing.
Yeah, 100%. And as long as you have that mentality, you'll get somewhere that's good.
Goddamn right.
I believe that.
Unless there's anything else you want to talk about, bro, that's all I got.
I'm dig the Eye of Thoth behind you,
Oh, hell nice. Yeah, bro. I got the Eye of Thoth, and then this is the Greek symbol. It's also on my chain. It means it's the lowercase symbol for delta. Delta means change. I keep that on my wall and on my chain because there's nothing we need more right now than fucking change. Every aspect of every society has got to fucking change.
I'm an anarchist, so like.
I mean,
I got ideas for change, but I don't know.
My opinion, no, there is not any single school of thought as far as governmental strategy that is completely right. Mm-hmm. There are merits in every single one, just like religion. There are merits in every single one. And if we brought the good side out of all of the political standpoints, we can figure some shit out. But we are way beyond that. And again, that is another 3-hour conversation that we do not have time for.
Yeah. Well, the way that I kind of like understood it to myself, where it's like every argument has two sides, pretty much. Where it's like, okay, there's this side, and then there's this side. And you could sort of, associate that to like a medieval, battle, there's two sides, like I'm the vine hanging from the tree, just on the side of the battle, totally not a part of this entire debate. I just exist and observe. There is no sort of right or wrong, all these things are going to happen around you. You just got to exist. You got to observe, got to keep your eyes open. And, you just open mind, open eyes. That's
Damn
that's
right,
really
bro.
all it is.
Damn right, bro. For real. This has been Character Acid with an incredible episode with Bestawdon, the guy who I've been mispronouncing his name for like almost a year now, I think. But I appreciate your time, bro. Thank you for everything you said, everything, all your input. I appreciate it all. And
Of
respect to
course.
what you're doing, respect to your hustle and helping independent artists, bro. It's a big thing.
Thank you.
All right, this has
Yeah.
been Character Acid. I'll see y'all next time. Peace out.